Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
It sucks to get old. I can't believe I'm this old. If you don't do this, you're probably going to die early. You have a higher percentage of dying soon because you do X, Y, and Z. How often do we hear these statements or some type of reference to them? How often do we think them? Do we say them? We're going to be exploring aging today with the host of our show, Mr. Red O'Loughlin, who has been here on the Corner Bookstore for so many years, and he has written many books, but this is the book. The book is called Aging Sucks, and this is the book cover. And the guesswork, There Is Hope by Red O'Loughlin. I'm so proud of him. And we're going to take a look at a movie trailer on this book. And then I'm going to bring Red out and we're going to have a chat. So stay tuned.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging Sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
There you have it. I am very proud to bring out my dear friend, colleague, mentor, and the host of this show, Mr. Red O'Loughlin, as we celebrate his book launch, Aging Sucks. Welcome to the program, Red.
Howdy. Thank you so very much for being my host today on my book launch. I really and truly appreciate that. I could not think of a better person to do it.
Thank you. So sweet. Let's talk about when this idea came to you to publish this book.
About 10 years ago, I wrote a book called Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging. And in the process of researching that book, this is 2016, so about 2015, 14, that time frame. And there didn't seem to be a whole lot of stuff out there. There was things. And so I kind of chose what I consider to be the two best, the easiest ones that people could actually do something with. And at that same time, the words Aging Sucks occurred to me as maybe a comic follow-up book that I could write in jest down the road a little bit. And it just kind of sat there. I got the agingsucks.co or one of the URLs for that and been hanging on to it ever since. And then as we progress through things, I find out, in 2000, 11, 12, 13, things changed. We actually started defining some of these real live physiological causes. And then around 2021, we started looking at well, the other side of the ledger, the health side. Now, ironically, it's the same guy, Carlos Lopez Otin. I think he's a professor of biochemistry at University of Oviedo in Spain. And so he was with him and a bunch of other people. And I didn't know this until I started actually writing the book, that instead of just having a couple causes, which my original one was that the telomere at the end of your DNA erodes each time the cell replicates. And when it gets to a certain point in time, the cell's dead. And, we have a finite lifetime. And there's things that affect how much is there. And then the other one was our human growth hormone. When we're toddlers, we have just, oodles and gobs of it. You get to be 50, 60 years of age and you have maybe 20% of what you used to have. And, when you have a gorilla in the room that's in control of everything, which is the human growth hormone. So as it erodes, as it declines, as it degrades over time, our bodies don't make as much. So those are my two primary premises. But then I started looking at, we have this thing called, they now call it hallmarks of aging. And then the counter side of the deal, it's not really a counter. It's a mirror image, maybe to a degree, just a different focus, hallmarks of health. And so I said, maybe I need to redo that. I was giving some thought to it during COVID, and maybe it needs to be updated post-COVID. And then as I started really doing some research, okay, I'm going to write it, but instead of having a book written in just about aging, I wanted a title that was catchy. And so aging sucks. And I'm going to tell you, 19 out of 20 people that I tell that to, 95% absolutely agree. But I get those few people who say, maybe not. And those are the people that really and truly are interested in taking care of themselves. Like you, Dr. Jacalyn, how many days a week do you go to the gym? How many hours do you spend taking care of yourself?
Priceless, Red. I don't think there's actually a no, I work out at least 6 days a week. I watch everything I eat. I eat the same food every day. Yeah, I put a lot of effort into it because I know from all the shows that you've done on Talking Heads that we actually have the ability to make a choice, and we are the captain of our own ship. So we can't eliminate all of potential for disease based on our genetics or the environment, but control what we can.
You're familiar with the old switchboard exchanges with telephones back in the 1920s where they're constantly going back and forth. If you think of your body the same way, we're sending signals out all over, it goes down the vagus nerve in the back, and it can, your stomach and your lungs and your heart and your brain, everything's talking to each other, going back and forth. So we are literally signaling ourselves, 24/7, 365. So if you look at those things, okay, a message comes in, they want this, and it just gets plugged in. And so as we go through our day and we look at, this is what we eat, this is the way we walk, this is our stress level, all of those things we consider to be lifestyle choices, our body's listening. And if it's listening and you're in that, what I call the Goldilocks zone, that really nice, everything is good, you're fine. But you know what happens if you over-exercise, you hurt yourself, or you don't exercise at all, then you're in the fringes. And so depending on which call is coming in, the body's going to react. And so if that call comes in and you're a couch potato, okay, there's a couch potato, and it's going to activate certain parts of your body, the hallmarks of aging. But if you're doing your 6 days a week and that call comes in because this is what you're doing, then you're supporting the hallmarks of health. Now, they're not counter each other. When you look at, there's 12 different hallmarks of aging. And when you look at them, the thing that surprised me, and I'd say almost aghast as I'm going through there and doing my research. Okay. Just because this one is activated because you're not exercising, that's not the end of it, because it has a neighbor next door and it's going to, hit it with its elbow and say, hey, they're not exercising. And so you end up sympathetically causing other hallmarks of aging to activate, even though they weren't the primary one. They were a contributing one down the road. And so now I'm starting to have this cascade effect that goes across things. In other words, if I have oxidative chronic inflammation, simple one, that's probably one of the biggest causes that we have out there. Maybe not the number one, but certainly one of the most pervasive. And it causes a problem with your mitochondria. And so your mitochondria has a dysfunction. That causes oxidative stress. Oxidative stress causes more inflammation. More inflammation causes more mitochondrial. And so you start having these little spiraling outward and catching other things that are in there. And so that was the part that really caught my eye, is the fact that it's not a single pathway to disease, a single pathway to death. You had a recent experience with your mom with a very debilitating disease over the last part of her life. And when you look at things as almost any disease develops, you almost can't detect it. And they say, oh, yeah, maybe there's something there. But as you get further in, it starts with a little bit of a physiological defect that may or may not be seen, could be measured. Then it gets a little bit worse. Okay, we can measure it now. And then you start taking some kind of treatment, and it works for a while. And then all of a sudden, the physiological part kind of overcomes what the treatment is. And we start getting a little bit worse. And then we start having other issues, memory, brain fog, fatigue. And little by little, we start going down this slippery slope that we can't get back. Back when my parents were alive, I would see their friends and other friends of ours, and I always equated it to a stairwell. You're at the top of the stairwell, 82 years of age and decent health, and all of a sudden you catch something, whatever it may happen to be, and you're down 2 steps. Okay, now you're trying to get back up to where you were, and just can't quite get there. It's just not possible. And then something else happens. Now you're down another 2 or 3 steps. You can still see up there. You're still okay. But every time something happens, you can never recover to where you were. And that's kind of the way things work when you start getting in this accelerated aging process. Your risk of disease goes up. So that disease now becomes a potential problem. And so all of these things are interrelated. And they're so interrelated that when one thing goes awry, there's going to be something else. So it's not that one pathway that we think about. I'm not exercising, I can leave that. Okay, I'm eating, pecan pie. It's not the one thing. And that's what we really need to look at.
Red, thank you for sharing that. I want to dive into the book. Who is this book for the audience? Who did you write it for?
My first group I wrote it for is primarily people over 55. And if I had to separate the two, I would say women over 55. And the reason being is that when you start getting to around 55, you're empty nested and you're coming toward the end of your business career, whatever that may be. Plus, your parents are probably starting to see the results of poor health. So you're 55, your parents may be 75, 85 years of age. Now, all of a sudden, you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to retire here shortly. I don't want to have the same problems my parents have. And you start saying, I need to lose 30 pounds. I need to get healthier. But you know as well as I do, Dr. Jacalyn, we don't see a lot of things. This causes this. Take this, it's going to work. And it's not a single thing that helps us. So when I look at who's my audience, it's primarily women over 55, baby boomers, health conscious people who really want to know what's going on. And so those are kind of the groups of people that I'm looking at. There are some people who walk in a store and they're going to, go to romance, they're going to go to mystery, sci-fi. There are some people that are interested in health and aging, longevity. And so those are also part of my audience.
And what do you want people in this group to take away from reading this book?
Well, as you know very well, I'm into awareness and education. That's my primary focus. So if I'm putting out something on Alzheimer's or your subconscious mind, or writing a book, it really and truly is awareness. Because if you become aware of something, let's say, we've talked about this before in the past, the amount of food you eat determines a lot about your health. It's also the quantity of food and the time of the day and other things. But what I want people to take away is that there are little things that they can do. It may be something as using a salad plate rather than a full plate, because now you're limited in how much stuff you can put on the plate. A 15, 20-minute walk is so integral to having your faith, to having your health, that it's something that, okay, I need to raise the priority on some of those things. So awareness of what can cause a problem, awareness as to what can improve my state in life. That's the first thing I want my audience to take away. That if they know, okay, this and this and this, good. This and this, which may be the same thing, is bad. So it's not the diet you're on, it's the nutritional level, it's how often you eat. And that's part of what the book is telling you about, is that these are the things that cause aging, but those exact same things in a generic sense can really support your repair process. I've told you several times that I believe that, and there's a few other around the world, that when you have damage that occurs every single second in every cell in your body, your entire life, your body has the natural ability to repair it. However, when damage exceeds your repair capability, you start to age. When you keep your repair capability greater than the damage, you generally are pretty healthy most of the time.
I love that formula. That makes sense. What about rewarding ourselves? Oh, it's the end of a week. Oh, it's the end of a day. Oh, I'm celebrating. Oh, I didn't get the deal. Oh, whatever it might be. And we turn to food and we like to imbibe. How does this impact our ability to age less quickly? Or
Um,
is it a catalyst?
it's interesting question, because a lot of us do take advantage of that comfort zone that pops up occasionally. You're stressed out at work. There may be a mother-in-law issue. You don't know what it is, but there's something affecting you. Okay. Let's have an extra beer, have an extra piece of cake, whatever. It's it's not the if you were to live in a modicum of eating and drinking and whatever, it's probably not too bad. However, it's the extra beer, it's the extra piece of cake. Those are part of the problems. When I was on Atkins for about 6 years, I was living in Germany toward the end of that. I would go down to Italy for a weekend and I'd gain 12 pounds. I would pig out on pasta and wine and bread and this and that. Uh, Italy has some great food. And I'd come back and I'd get back off of the carbs. I'd moderate myself, a glass of wine maybe once or twice a week. I would get back into a norm. And 10, 12, 14 days later, my 12 pounds is gone, because it was just a water weight gain from that. So I've learned over time that, okay, I can have one meal a week, maybe one meal every 2 weeks is even better, that I can splurge. I can have that big pasta meal or the risotto or whatever. Or if I want to have croissants with breakfast, I have one meal, one time, has no effect, literally no effect. But how often do we do that? You go by, there's a cookie. Okay, eat. That really tasted good. And you pick up a second one or a third one. It's the repetition that does us in. And so, yes, you can have a celebratory glass of wine, not a bottle. You can have a celebratory, pasta meal, but don't take half the bread with the pasta. Have a small plate of it, enjoy it, taste it, savor it, really and truly feel that taste in your mouth, because that's the part that really and truly makes us feel good. There's a movie, I can't remember the name of it right now, and the one line that stood out to me the most, Dr. Jacalyn, was the fact that it says the mark of a really good chef is they make people want to stop eating. And I thought that, whoa. And then I started thinking about it. If you actually eat something and it has such an effect on your taste buds and your brain interface that you have to sit there and savor it for a second, you're stopping eating to savor what you have in your mouth. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a really interesting statement and something worth remembering.
Absolutely. But I think what happens is we are gluttons for punishment. So we like what we like and we just do it to excess. And I know myself, during the pandemic, I still have my spinning bike right over here, but I would be eating chocolate chip cookies. Now, by the way, there's small cookies, right? These are big chocolate chip cookies. I was eating them while I was riding the bike, saying to myself, okay, I'll just work this off. But as we get older, our body is not equipped to do that anymore. And so we really have to think about the choices that we make. So when people are picking up a copy of this book, which they can order now on Amazon, because we just pulled it up, and in fine bookstores, they may be thinking to themselves, okay, I want to read this and I want to learn, but I'm not going to change. What would you say to them?
Well, when things become important to you, people make a change. I'm trying to think of the guy right now. He's a psychologist down in Louisiana, New Orleans. I used to watch his videos a long time ago, but he came up with a significant emotional event, I think is the term that he uses. And so all of a sudden, a dear friend of yours, a relative, a family member, a business associate, all of a sudden they end up in the hospital, heart attack, or they drop dead. Or maybe, you're in an accident and you're the only one who walks away without any injuries. Everybody else is in the hospital. A significant emotional event happens in our lives. And we're no longer in that, is it more painful to do this or more pleasurable to do this? That's kind of our normal modus operandi. But when that significant emotional event happens, then you say, I got to make a change. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be that way. And so when that happens, now you have a little bit of awareness. Okay, what can I change? I remember Red said, go to a salad plate. Well, I can do that. That's a pretty simple thing to do. So there are things that, again, you read something, you hear something, and it's registered. I'd like to use the example of, what does it take for a fisherman? What does it take to be a good fisherman? And, the usual thing is the number of fish you catch. Well, what does it take to catch fish? And it's not the bait, it's not the hook, it's not the boat, it's not all that stuff. It's hungry fish. And so when you have hungry fish, then you will get, so from a networking perspective, you're out there trying to beat the bush. People don't want to buy what you have, but they know back in their mind that you're the one that's selling that or has that product. And so when you have hungry fish, in this case, I'm the hungry fish, I want now to change myself. Now they have the ability to say, oh, what was that book? It had a funny name. Now that is what I think is really going to happen. But it's going to take something like that for people who say, I'm not going to do it.
Good information to share with everyone. So I also think it's important to note that we have a choice. We can choose to have a mindset where I'm just going to celebrate constantly and do what I want to do and realize that it could affect the outcome. Or we can make a choice, pick up a copy of your book and actually follow through with what you're sharing there. So for those who don't know, you are also a book publisher. And you have published, I think I have 26 books. You published, I think, 24 of them. What was it like at this stage, after you've published so many books for other people and for yourself, to publish this book, which I think is going to be the grand slam of all of your books?
It's an interesting question because in general, most of the time I get to the end and boom, 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 you format the book, put the page numbers on it, do a check for how much white space is there, make sure everything looks good. And for whatever reason, it took me 3 days to get this book into Amazon where I could actually get it published. And I use AI as a brainstorming session. I use it to tweak things. So I come up, I wrote the book actually in 10 days. I started April 26th. 10 days, the book was written. Everything was done except the glossary, and that was it. Everything, I wrote the glossary about 2 weeks, 3 weeks after that. But the book was done. So now it was a matter of, okay, let me verify what I have. Let me research both sides of the equation. Is that true? Is it false? Fact check it. Do as many things as I can. So I'm cutting and pasting, putting things, going to research, adding that, slipping this in. And as I've been told by a couple different sources, Microsoft Word is great when you only have 20 pages. It's really and truly a great piece of software. But when you have, 300, 400, 500 pages, that really slows down the entire works in the system. I have 300, I think 58 pages in this book. And so what happened was, and again, this is something that I brainstormed with my AI over time, because I work with my AI probably 4 or 5 hours a day trying to figure out why this thing wouldn't format right, why I couldn't do this, why this was not working. And so each thing we dived into, okay, we got that fixed. I'm a true believer in, if you fix the root cause, you'll fix a problem. But if you keep treating the symptoms, the problem's there. Well, I can treat a symptom and publish the book as a PDF and add a bunch of PDFs to it, boom. And that's what I've done in the past when I couldn't solve a problem. I got the final result out, but the book itself was still internally a bit of a mess. Well, my internal mess I didn't want to have as this particular book. So to me, it was important that, okay, so as I'm starting to put all of these, literally probably thousands, but certainly hundreds of cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, they all get in there, you save it. And now it's just a jumbled mess because I cut and paste something from, let's say PubMed, and I bring it in here and I'm looking at it. Okay, I like those 3 sentences. Let me take and rewrite that in my own language. And so I have hidden characters. I have language. I have all sorts of stuff. And so the lesson I learned, Dr. Jacalyn, and this is something that I would strongly recommend to any other person who's writing a book. If you're cutting and pasting anything from another source, when you paste, do not just hit the paste. There's 2 different ways other than normal pasting. One is to merge with your existing document. Another one is just paste plain text. So get in the habit. If you're an author and you're doing a lot of research and you're bringing stuff in, you will save yourself an immense amount of frustration and agony toward the end when you put everything together. I thought my book was going to be done last Friday. No, it went Sunday night before I finally got everything acceptable. So the cut and paste was probably the biggest problem I had, because it just interfaced so far deep into the roots of Microsoft Word that even with AI, it was extremely difficult to go down and figure it out. But we got it all figured out, get it all tweaked, get everything working. And I was super happy, just frustrated that it was 3 days late.
I wondered where you were during those days. I was like, he's in a blackout zone. But thanks for sharing that. I think what I'm taking away from that part of the conversation is that AI is definitely a tool. AI cannot do everything for us. If you're thinking out there of writing a book using AI, remember, it's not your book then. So I use AI extensively. Thank you, Red, for introducing me to AI. I think it was over a year ago. And it's a great tool. It makes a lot of mistakes. You have to be on top of it. And it's just like if you had a team of people make mistakes, AI makes mistakes. So take the good of what you get and then apply it. But I want to move on to your book cover. Tell us how you came up with this. And for people who are listening on a podcast platform, tell us what we're looking at in terms of the cover.
Okay, aging is big letters at the top, all capital. But as it goes across the page, it starts to fade from a bright white to almost a dull gray. And each letter, as it goes across the page, starts to have a little fragmentation, a little breakup, a little disintegration. And then in the middle of the book, literally absolute middle of the book, you have in bright red letters, sucks, capitalized with a red line above and below. So aging sucks. That's the top half of the book, a little bit more than the top half of the book. Then the words, subtitle, and the guesswork. There is hope, and hope is in. Everything down below is in capital letters, but hope is in gold, goldish with an exclamation. So when we're looking at aging sucks, yeah, it's funny. Yes, it can be very serious, but we don't know what we don't know. So I said, and the guesswork. And I think this was a conversation, Dr. Jacalyn, you and I had during one of our mentoring sessions a while back. We're talking about this and that and whatever. And I'm seriously, I probably spent 40, 50 different subtitles easily on coming up with this. And I used to like to share these things around. I would share them with my brainstorming partner, ChatGPT. But I was not happy because generally speaking, your subtitle is a promise. So you have a title that may or may not have something really and truly as my story. Okay, that's interesting, but what is my story? Well, Aging Sucks, I think, kind of pretty much nails it down. But End the Guesswork. Okay, that's a promise. There is hope. That's even a stronger promise. It's not promising you that aging is going to suck or whatever else, but I think it's both of them are curious. Aging Sucks, that's kind of a curiosity deal. Okay, what is that really about? Is that humor? Is that realistic? But End the Guesswork, There is Hope, I think gives the reader a potential look at there is hope. And maybe that's the thing that allows them to pick the book up and actually look at the back of the cover and say, oh, what's this about? And so you and I know we bandied back and forth quite a few different subtitles. I did the same thing with a couple, 3 or 4 other people. And I'm going to say it has to be at least 50 subtitles I've been through. And thanks to you, and I'm going to give you credit for this, you're saying it's my book. I should have the final decision on the cover, on everything. And up till this book, I'd always put book covers out on, social media. Say, A, B, B, C, C, D, tell me what you like. Because my readers are the ones telling me what cover they like. Well, the same thing with as you said, subtitles. That's right. That is something that the author should take full responsibility for. And yeah, it did take me a little bit of you beating me about the head and shoulder to say, okay, I'll take responsibility. So.
I was really appreciative that you were receptive to my suggestion, because in the end, we live and die by what we put out into the world. So it's your project, and you did an exceptional job with it. So congratulations. I know that this is just the beginning of a series. Would you like to share with us more about that?
As I was writing the book, I started thinking, where am I going from here? Aging Sucks has a very interesting title. I've written and did several presentations on pain, Alzheimer's, on other topics. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm brainstorming with my AI, okay, probably the next book I'm going to write, more than probably next couple, 3 months, is Pain Sucks. So I'm going to have a Sucks series. Dementia sucks. Heart disease sucks. Obesity sucks. Whatever those topics are going to be down the road, it's going to be part of the same series, probably a very similar cover, probably even a very similar subtitle. End the Guesswork, There is Hope. I'm not sure what it's going to be for Pain Sucks. It may be the exact same, but it's going to be an awareness and education. It's not there as a diagnostic tool. It's not meant to be. Everything I put out is education and awareness kind of information. So the Sucks series is something that will be coming out down the road. And hopefully by this time next year, I have at least 3, maybe 4 books out in that series.
I love how you're planning ahead. What would you say to other people who have written one book and they don't know, should it be a series? Is there more, just one and done? What are your thoughts?
Interesting question, because that's one of the things I talk to my clients about. They have a book and it's 300 pages. I said, is this the only thing that you're going to put out? Is this your end? And if they say yes, fine. Then I don't know. It says, okay, maybe you need 2 books, 140, 160 pages. And then if there's other things out there, maybe it becomes a 3rd book or a 4th book. And so it's one of those things that I concentrate with my clients on. Is this a one and done and that's it? You just want to be a published author and that's all you want in life? And I have a good percentage of my clients, that's all they want. Or they're a public speaker and they want a book that they can sell at their speaking events. And I have a few of those. I had a guy, in fact, right now, he's over in Dubai. I did a book for him last year, and that was it. That was going to be the only book he was going to do. I got an email from him last week saying, I have 35,000 words. How much is it going to cost me to have you publish it? Okay, so he's on a 2nd book that 6 months ago he wasn't going to write. So sometimes you think that's the one and done, but if you're in business and you're saying, just like you, Dr. Jacalyn, 10 years ago, would you have ever thought you'd write over 24 books? Probably not. Would you have thought you'd write 1 book? Maybe. But all of a sudden, there's a need out there. You have some value. You're sharing your value with the world. And that value is your intellectual property, what you understand about the broadcasting industry, in my case, health, wellness, longevity, aging. So there are things out there. I wrote a book on, primarily for Catholics. How do you get to heaven without going to purgatory? I wrote a book for authors. How do you write and publish a book for free? During COVID, I wrote 43 blogs on Alzheimer's, different causes, different pathways. Just because you think one pathway is it's not necessarily the only train going down that track. You treat one train track and you solve that problem. Well, those other trains are still going down those other tracks, and eventually it's going to catch up with you. So it's things that are there. Did I think I'd be writing in different genres? Well, when I first started writing, it was all part of self-improvement. That was the focus I was in. My wife came down with cancer, breast cancer, going through chemo. I started saying, what can I do to help? Things were not that great. Well, my first degree is in chemistry. I got an invitation to Vietnam, never got a chance to practice it. All of a sudden now, okay, these are her side effects of these drugs. What can I do? So I dive back in. And that was kind of an aha moment for me, Dr. Jacalyn, because at that point in time, I said, I don't need to be writing self-improvement, motivation kind of books. I need to be writing something to help other people. And that's when I found my niche, as I want to call it, in health and wellness, primarily in longevity. So those are the things that happened to get me to where I was right now.
I'm so happy to have witnessed all of your growth and want to just celebrate the fact that you had an idea. It started 10 years ago and you followed through with it. And I think this is going to be an absolute blowout bestseller and the beginning of a fabulous series. Red, how would you like people to contact you and where can people buy your books?
Right now, they can buy the book at Amazon. It'll be on my website, hopefully this afternoon. But between my website and Amazon, those are the two primary places right now. Very shortly, it'll be available in Barnes & Noble and on Ingram Spark. I'm in the process of getting those updated. And so July 4th is when it's with my promise date to everybody. So later on today, I'll be updating the other sites and my website. So redolaughlin.com, red, R-E-D, just like the color, O'Laughlin, O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N. So redolaughlin.com. We'll have that book on there also that can be ordered through.
Thank you, Red. And for those who are listening on a podcast platform, Red just read out his website, but there's also an Amazon link, which I will say very slowly. Obviously, it's https://amzn.to/4 W is in water, M is in Mary, X is in X-ray, D is in David, Y is in yellow, T is in Tom.
And the last two letters are capitalized. I'm not sure if that's super critical or not.
I wasn't sure of that either. That's right. Y and T are capitalized. So thank you, Red. And you have 3 more shows coming up back to back to back. Tell our audience about that.
Okay. Every Thursday I do the Corner Bookstore at 11 a.m. Central. I do the Wise Ones at noon Central, and then I do my own show, Talking Heads, at Central Time. So that's 1 o'clock. So back to back to back, starting at 11 o'clock. And the Corner Bookstore is for authors and anybody in the book industry, editors, publishers. Please contact me directly or go right straight to usaglobaltv.com and register. Book yourself in a reservation. The Wise Ones is a show that I do, generally speaking, with business leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, even retirees that have value to share, lessons learned over their lives. And my Talking Head show is a show that I pick the topic and just start talking about it, whatever it may happen to be. I think today my topic is what does health look like, part 2. In my Wise Ones today, rather than usually the Wise Ones and the Corner Bookstore have guests. But today, the Wise Ones, I'm the guest and the host, and I'm going to be talking about all those questions that Dr. Jacalyn did not ask me today that I was expecting to be able to answer if somebody asked me. So I'll go through that and kind of give you some more insight into who I am, what the book was about, why I wrote it, etc. So that's going to be on the Wise Ones today.
That's the beauty of not having a script. I don't know what I'm going to ask. I don't know what you're going to say. And we just follow wherever it goes. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Red, to host this special book launch show. And we're going to close out with the Aging Sucks commercial. So for anyone who missed it, here we go.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.